We have to start with a giggle.
Not a burp. Did you burp before we?
I went just to make you laugh.
Welcome to the show with no name. I'm Adaire Palmer and
I'm Theonie Roussianos, and I say my name because the blonde one can't. She's a blonde one.
At least I want to spell it. Come on.
You have learned.
Yeah, yes. I'm a long time in teaching, but thank you for joining us today.
And no offense to blondes, it's what Adaire says about herself. She says I'm the blonde one because nobody can tell.
No offense taken. The show with no name, dreamed up by Theonie and myself because we want to help people who are doing amazing things to help other people in the community. We've got Georgie here.
Speaking of people doing amazing things, hi, gorgeous. We hope the rains keep coming down there in Tassie for you. And
yeah, for sure, because Georgie joined us last week to talk about the Tassie fires and her experience there. And what we like to do is we like to help people, not-for-profits, service clubs, charities, by giving them some opportunity to get some exposure in a place where they normally wouldn't do, like Facebook. So today we are speaking with Kel Brealey, who is doing some awesome, amazing stuff. Now, speaking of doing amazing things for the community, there are some things that people get, you and I love the digital world. There are some instances, however, where the digital world isn't the place it might be the place where you'll go to find help, but you still need that human face-to-face interaction. So the benefits of human face-to-face interaction on mental well-being are documented. Just having a caring, non-judgmental ear to talk to can help sufferers of conditions such as depression and anxiety. In a digital world where many of our communications are done virtually, the skill of conversation can diminish, and along with it, our mental health. The Human Being Project, human being, I'm guessing that's because they have coffee and things there. I absolutely love it. The Human Being Project is a love child of two former nurses, both with career and lived experience of mental illness. Kel and Lisa, the project's founders, have created a community venture with the aim of reducing the isolating effects of mental illness. So for a small donation, which covers the cost of supplies, members of the public can drop in, share a yarn or a tea or coffee and connect on a human level. Pardon? That's all right. I just put the my screen on my don't worry about it.
You're forgiven.
Continue. So I'm going to go like this.
Their hope is that by allowing people a safe place to talk without fear of judgment, that it might ease some of the symptoms of mental illness as well as reduce the stigma associated with it. Now, that is just crazy good. Now, you're in the show now, Kel. I don't usually warn Adaire, but I'll tell you. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure meeting you. What you girls have done is absolutely amazing. So as former nurses, you've seen what can happen, or varying effects, because no two people suffering with any form of mental illness are the same.
Correct.
And so you have seen, how it can affect people, how people can be affected by mental illness on any form and variety of it, because it's not just one simple straight line thing. So how did you and your partner, so you and Lisa, did you work together as nurses, or how did this all come together?
Lisa and I worked together in a medical centre a few years ago, and I just thought that she had the nicest, most gentlest soul of anybody I'd ever met. And there was just a connection between the two of us. And working in that medical centre, we both dealt with a lot of like pre-hospital care and preventive medicine. So in Gawler, there's a place called Gawler Supportive Care, and our job was to help look after the residents there. Prior to that, I'd spent 13 years as an emergency nurse and dealt primarily with mental health issues. And someone tagged me in, there's a cafe over in Chicago, which is a not-for-profit, and everything that they raise goes back into suicide prevention. So people have tagged me in it because I'm very, very passionate about mental health. And they said, Kel, this would be an awesome venture for you. And I thought, well, I can't do it on my own. And I don't have the startup to actually get a cafe. So I spoke to Lisa and I said, please come with me because I just think that you are awesome. We went to our local member of parliament and he suggested a joint community project, and then it's gone from there.
That is amazing.
It really is, and it's totally relate with finding someone that you can work with. I'm still looking. No, I'm joking.
I'm going to get her in the car park. So how long has this been going for, Kel? You may have said, but I was distracted. So, yeah.
No, that's okay. It's only just opened as of last Saturday, but it's been a work in progress trying to get it going for almost 12 months.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's been a labour of love, and everything has come out of our pocket. But luckily, Hope Chapel, who we have partnered with, they have been amazing. It's not religious in any way, but they have come to the party and provided the venue and some of the supplies, and they've been amazing. So it's been negotiating with the church to see how we can do it, not ruining any council laws or anything like that. So it's been a lot of back and forth for the last 12 months.
Love it. Love seeing churches and other communities like that come together to help the real people in the community who need the help. So that's a beautiful partnership.
So you said you've got a local member of parliament on board, and local government. You mentioned local government there before. I've worked with Gawler Council before. They're pretty progressive, so they'd be on board as well. It's a big effort. It's a huge undertaking because working in state government and know how they sort of all interconnect, and it's like hats off to you, really.
Thank you.
Because behind the scenes I can really understand how much effort and pretty much blood, sweat and tears have gone into this, because it's not an easy feat. When you open the doors, it's like all unicorns farting rainbows. But when you are, did I say that out loud? It's all right, I got doves flying around here. So I just know, and just kudos to you for the amount of work and coordination that goes into it. So what happens if somebody wants to, come into, just walk us through what might bring somebody in through the door?
So basically, you don't have to be diagnosed with a mental health issue. Just talking in general can prevent a lot of the mental health issues developing. So, as I said, it's not a cafe. It's basically like a drop-in centre. So anybody can just come in, grab a cup of coffee, a bit of cake or a biscuit, just give a small donation and just talk. And it can be talking about anything. You can talk about your dog, you can talk about your family, you can talk about work, or you can talk about mental health. And just the actual act of having the conversation as well from a biological point of view helps with mental health. I'm very passionate about it, so I won't go into it because I will talk your ear off about it. But just having...
We've got 20 minutes. We've got 20 minutes. Talk away. Look, so we've interviewed a few people. So Adaire and I, this show is about promoting what people are doing in the community to help the community, whether it be a community of 2 people that they're helping, their next door neighbour, or a community of thousands. It doesn't matter. We've had quite a few people that we've interviewed through various life experience doing things for different mental health charities. There's one who started his own not-for-profit to support people who are suffering through some sort of mental illness or mental health issues. And then we also had, so last week we spoke to Georgie Fitzgerald, who's stuck in the bushfires in Tasmania. And we've also got our friend Rachel Ireland, who was who was affected by the Pinery fires back in 2014. Now she's now doing things for Beyond Blue. And so it's a common theme with life experience that mental health suffers to some degree, more so for some than others. It's always a facet of an aspect of life, though, whether someone falls into full diagnosed depression or they're just really down and can't get out of that slump. Having someone to talk to, somebody you can talk your ear off to who will just listen, can make a difference.
Absolutely, and that's the premise behind it all.
Yeah, and so do you then have support services you can refer people onto who need the help? So they may not know where to turn to. So a lot of people don't know where to turn, and they do feel that they're alone.
Absolutely. On the back of our business cards, we actually have the numbers for Beyond Blue, Lifeline. There's one for domestic violence as well, and sexual assault. So we've got all of that on the back as a resource. Being ex-nurses ourselves, we also still have quite a few medical contacts that we can refer to if need be. But I think the biggest thing is when you think about things like in an emergency, you ring 000. Everybody knows that number and they know they're going to get help straight away. But a lot of people don't understand what happens when you actually ring one of these counselling hotlines. So we want to try to bring some awareness around that, and just even talking to somebody on the phone, just someone who will listen so you can get it up off of your chest, because while you keep all those emotions down inside, they do damage. And I kind of use I use a lot of metaphors, but one in particular with mental health is that bad feelings of any kind, are a form of energy. And if you keep that energy in your head and don't get it out, it becomes like a toxic pinball that just bounces around the body, doing damage to everything it touches. So you need to get that energy out. And by talking to somebody about anything, just in general, being able to look at another human being and reading the signs, so visual cues. So, you know, when you're talking to somebody, just face to face, whether you're having a safe conversation, you know, by looking at somebody and you can go, oh, they're not really listening to me, or they come across as being threatening. You can't do that in a virtual world, and you can't do it on a telephone either. But face to face, you can have that conversation. You can get the cues. You can get the feedback that somebody actually is listening and understanding. And that is so underrated in the treatment of mental health, as well as the prevention of mental health. So that's what the venture is all about, just to get people in to have a chat and talk, because mental illness is very isolating. I myself suffer from PTSD and bipolar, which is one of the reasons why I'm so incredibly passionate about it not being a label. It's my superpower, and that's the way I see it. My mental health conditions are my superpowers, and I'm trying to educate people that it's not a life sentence. It's not the end of the world, and it doesn't have to define you. So in having people come in and talk with someone who actually knows what it's like, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. I think that's a massive benefit.
So people who have been even undiagnosed or have experienced mental health issues in the past and are feeling like they've got some balance to their lives, and that they would be welcome to come in as well, I would imagine, to to connect and to share. Oh, Rachel's here. Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. Speak of the devil, were your ears burning, lady?
She's gone, Rachel. Speak of the devil. Sorry, go on.
That's all right. It's mainly about listening. A lot of the times, especially people that do have lived experiences, they want to share their experience as well. And we do that from a basic human need. It's that need to connect. It's like, oh, you've got something, well, I've got something too. Now we've got something in common. But a lot of the times when it comes to mental health, that's actually not what the other person needs. They just need someone to listen, to understand, and to meet them where they're at. And it can be very hard when you do have a mental health issue. You do want to get it out and you do want to talk about it. So with some of the donations, our aim is to then take that to hold workshops and seminars where people get to share their stories. They get that opportunity to stand up and say, I've had these adversities and I've had this to overcome, and this is how I've done it. So it then gives them the platform to do that, but actually with inside the project. So when people do come in for the coffee and the talk, it is just to be a listening ear, just to listen, and not give, no advice is to be given at all, because we're not counsellors. That's not what it's about. It's just to listen.
Beautiful. I have another question about, and I'm aware of people that it may be on the spectrum for autism. And in my experience, a lot of the people who are diagnosed or even undiagnosed do suffer from mental health conditions, which compounds whatever, you know. So is there any like experience around there? Or would you suggest that people, you know, would still, sometimes it's really hard to actually get them out and engaging in community. Is there ways that we could encourage people that we know that do have, and it's maybe not just people on the spectrum, but people who are have things like agoraphobia and things like that? So is there ways that we could encourage people that to come out and connect? Or is that
absolutely.
Yeah. So give us some tools.
Okay. Basically, the first thing that people need to feel is safe. In any situation, no matter what we do, human beings need to feel safe. To actually grow, develop, thrive, you've got to feel safe. So by providing an environment that is safe, where people feel that they can come in and talk and they're not going to be judged. You know, it's really hard when you're feeling alone, whether it be being on the spectrum or whether you've got depression or whether you're just having a really shitty day. It's really hard to go into another space and feel safe because you're scared you're going to break down and cry, or you're scared you're just going to snap and yell at somebody. When you've got a place like this where you can go, and there's a good chance that other people in the room are suffering, you know, similar or care for somebody who is suffering as well, it creates that safe environment. So knowing that there's a place to go where you're not going to be judged, where someone's going to listen, that safety, that's the first thing that anybody needs. You can do all the tools that it takes. If someone doesn't feel safe, they're not going to go, they're not going to reach out, they're not going to ask for help. So safety is the first thing, first and foremost.
Absolutely. Now, if you haven't already, for anybody watching, make sure there's a link in the blurb above this broadcast. Search for the Human Being Project and see everything that's going on. If you need their support, or you might know somebody who needs a service like this, or you might be in a position to help, because it costs money to keep projects like this running, even if it's just, you know, buying the tea, the coffee, and, you know, what kinds of things do you need money for to keep the centre running?
Okay, so first of all, as I said, this is basically to see how it's going to work, whether it's got legs or not. We know there's a massive gap in the community for something like this, and the amount of people that have reached out and said, I've been looking for something like this. So, you know, they've thanked me for bringing it. As I said, I don't have the capital to start up a cafe. I actually would love to start up a proper cafe and a chain of cafes. So to keep this running and to get momentum, obviously we need exposure. We need support. We need people coming in and just talking, and they don't even have to have a coffee. Just to have that interaction is what we need. So any way that anyone can help as far as that is concerned would be fantastic. As I said, the donations, that goes to help us do our workshops and our seminars, particularly workshops for young girls who have had traumatic upbringings. We want them to know that that doesn't have to define the rest of your life. You can go through some really horrible things, but we give you the tools to then become more resilient, to be a little bit more positive, to step into your power and make the best life that you can out of that. So that obviously takes money as well. So in terms of getting it up and running, I think the biggest support is just people to come in, you know, people to share the Facebook page, people to let other people know that it's out there, so that we can get that traffic in the door, get it out there, get everybody knowing about it. And then, because I think I am so passionate about it and I believe in it so deeply, I truly believe it will grow from there.
I think
it will too. Now, you had your grand opening on Saturday just gone, is that right? So how did that go?
It went really well. Obviously, it was our close friends and stuff like that came to support us for that first day, because we haven't actually had the opportunity to do any official advertising. But as I said, the local member for life, Tony Piccolo, he has been absolutely amazing. He came along and had some photographs done. So he's actually doing some advertising for us through his office, and he's just been incredible. And the Bunyip in Gawler, they have been amazing as well. So they've done some advertising too. So hopefully this Saturday coming up, we'll get a few more people that are not connected to us, but more from the wider community. So we're very excited and hopeful that, you know, this Saturday will be a really good turnout.
So it's weekly at this stage?
Yes, every Saturday from 10:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. That way it's not seen as a cafe by the council because we're not, you know, in that food time. And it's just a good way to see, you know, whether there's a demand there for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. And so the people dropping in, if people who, I mean, everybody's got shit going on in their lives, but somebody who doesn't suffer with mental illness or doesn't feel that, you know, they need the service themselves, if they're just a listening ear, are they welcome to come in to help other people? Do people, the listening ears don't need to have certain qualifications or anything like that?
No, anybody is welcome. Everybody and anybody are welcome to come in and just have a coffee, have a listen. And I think particularly people that don't suffer from mental illness, if they're willing to sit there and listen to somebody who does, that helps reduce the stigma. That helps, you know, sufferers to feel safe, that it's okay to talk about it. As far as it goes to the volunteers, at this point, it's just Lisa and myself. We're hoping that it's going to grow to the point that we need other people. And then when it comes to that, we're going to make sure that they've all got their police clearance checks because, first of all, they'll be dealing with money. Secondly, it's very important that everything that is heard and done in there is kept confidential, that you don't go out and repeat stories that you've heard. We also ask that they've had a current first aid certificate and a mental health first aid training. Both Lisa and myself have done that in the past, and it is incredibly beneficial. And that's just about recognising when someone is actually really, really struggling and then what to do and where to refer them from there. So at this point, it's anybody can come in and anybody can chat. Anybody can be a listening ear. Like, it doesn't take any qualifications other than to be focused on that other person to be a good listener.
That's
Kel,
amazing.
I just want to ask, are you connected with Northern Volunteering in Salisbury?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so if you're not, they are an amazing resource centre. I know the CEO, Donatella Amos, she's amazing too. I'm actually catching up with her next week. But they provide a resource, it's a resource centre for not-for-profits and for organisations who, you know, they may refer volunteers or they would help you with things like the, you know, the first aid training and that type of thing. So I actually, a little bit of I used to work there. I was a consult with them for back in about 2012. And I know, and in fact, Donatella and the past CEO and myself actually were founding members of an association, a not-for-profit association. So our history does go back a long, like 20 years. And I know the good work that they do in the community. So reach out to them and just have a chat with Stella or the people on the staff there, because most of them are volunteers, but they will actually be a great resource for things like volunteers, that type of thing. So, and
thank you.
I think they do, or they did have an outreach centre in Gawler, but they're in Salisbury and John Street. So check them out, and you don't know where they come from. It might, even if it's just some advice around putting together job descriptions and that type of thing. As you grow, having those systems in place is going to be really, really useful, because as a long-time volunteer manager myself, I can see that, you know, if you don't have that stuff in place, it can trip you up. But you've got obviously you're thinking about in the future with that. So do contact them, and I'm sure they'll be a great resource for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, and I just want to say I do love what you girls have set out to do. Now I grew up in regional New South Wales, and in country towns, typically the stigma can be a lot worse, and it's because everyone knows each other and they're worried about their next door neighbor knowing what it is that's going on. You know, they can't know that I'm going through shit. They can't know what's going on in my head. They're going to go tell the next person. And in a small community like that, it's easy for everyone to know your business.
Yeah, oh, yes.
And also
they don't know.
Absolutely.
And it can feel like the town knows more about your own life than you do yourself. So having that, I did want to point out what you said before. Once this is all up and running, volunteers who are coming in will have their police clearances and training done. So it is going to be a safe space for people to come in and feel that they can release, because Gawler's not that far from Adelaide, so it's probably a little easier for people. It's not so remote, so it's probably a little easier for people to access professional services if they're not in their own community. But having it's still a town, and I think that mindset does tend to travel through. It's sad, but it's true. And I did want to point out what you said about having, the training and the police clearances and all that for the volunteers who are coming through. I think that's an important thing to point out so that people can feel comfortable that they are coming into an absolute safe space. And
I'm a no bullshit person, and I don't tolerate any bullying, harassment or anything like that. So I need the people that come in to feel that it is absolutely 100% a safe place, and I know what it takes to feel safe, because, as I said, I have PTSD and I have bipolar. So for me, every day is a struggle. Every single day is a struggle, and I'm lucky enough that I have the tools to not care so much about other people's opinions, but it's trying to pass those on to other people. So the first step, as I said, is it's about safety. So as police clearances, first aid, all of those kinds of things. There's only so much I can do to make sure that other people are being safe, but I will absolutely enforce that is a safe place, and we will not tolerate anything that makes anybody feel unsafe.
Oh, now Rachel actually used to live down there at Hamley Bridge, and I came from Hamley Bridge as well. In fact, my kids went to school with her husband, so this is how
Rachel is the wonderful woman I was speaking about earlier who was caught up in the Pinery fires back in 2014. I did get that year right, didn't I? 2014?
15, I think it was.
15? Okay. Yeah. I think I said 16 last time, it was 15. So Rachel Rachel has been doing work to support Beyond Blue as well. And she did, now I can't remember, what was the name of the trek?
Star. Oh, was it York Peninsula? Rachel, comment. What was the name of the trek? Now, there's about a 15-second lag for her, so she'll comment shortly. But she's been doing things to raise awareness and money for Beyond Blue as well, which is one of the services, obviously, that you're promoting through your community for people to reach out for help. And things like this, so what you're doing and what Rachel did, this was 2015. So things that you are doing and Rachel did. Now, for me, when it came to Beyond Blue, because of their previous ad campaigns, I always thought it was a service just for men.
Yeah.
I always thought it was not just for men, not saying, it's only for men, but I thought it was, I would have never referred a female friend who needed the support to Beyond Blue, because their advertising campaigns, and I understand why they were targeted that way. The advertising campaigns when I was younger, the ones that I remember, were all about men's mental health. So I thought that was what Beyond Blue were about. Yeah. And it wasn't until Rachel came along last year when she started doing all her stuff that I realised that Beyond Blue is not just for men, it's for anybody and everybody. So having people like you there as a first point of contact for someone I really need help and comes to the centre, and then, you can obviously refer them on to all these services. I think it's just, it's absolutely amazing. Like you said, you're not claiming to have all the answers and, come here and we'll solve problems. It's about getting the support and having a listening ear, first of all, which is the most important part.
Yeah.
And then knowing all you need to know is where to refer them, not how to solve their problem, because it's not you can't solve anybody's problem. It's about giving them the tools so they can solve their own problems.
And to actually have a listening ear helps you have a little bit of strength and courage to be able to ask for help. And that's a lot of times the hardest thing, to have that courage to ask for help. And as I said, you don't have to have a mental illness. Just by actually communicating with other people, you can prevent yourself from getting a mental illness. You can prevent depression or lessen the symptoms.
So Kel, we are going out to over 50 channels of TV on demand through when we finish our live broadcast here on My Time TV. So we do go out worldwide to over 50 other channels. So you never know who is going to see or who is going. You might have someone in China going, wow, what a great idea. So yeah, the message is getting out there. We're out of time, but in the next just maybe 10 or 15 seconds, can you just share again where you are and when you're open, and what's the other thing? Probably the easiest way to get there. If you're outside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're located there's an extension on the Hope Chapel, which is located at 8 Cowan Street in Gawler. So it's not related to the chapel. We're open every Saturday from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. At this stage, we're hoping to grow. If it does really, really well, Hope Chapel also have another branch out here where I am in Greenwith Way. So we can then extend it to Greenwith, and then hopefully it will take on from there. So the best way to get to the Hope Chapel is, if you know where Coles is, at the back part of Gawler, near the Gawler Railway Station. So Gawler Central Railway Station is right next to Coles. If you just walk straight across the road, that's where we are.
Okay, so people can come in by train, the easiest?
Absolutely. Yep, train, drive. Yep, absolutely.
And again, very, very quickly, how can people help?
People can help by telling other people that we're there, just getting the word out, sharing the Facebook page, telling the community, and just calling in and just getting that foot traffic in the door so that other people can feel that it's safe and that people are going there. Because if everybody's avoiding it, then no one's going to feel safe about going there.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Now, don't go anywhere. We'll chat with you briefly in a moment, but we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, Kel. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully next time we can catch up with you and Lisa and do an update and see how everything's progressed.
And thank you both so much for giving me the opportunity to speak about this. It's such a passion of mine, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, I'm not sure what you thought. Adaire's gone. I think she's had some connection issues, but that's all good. So thank you for joining us on the show with No Name. Connect with Kel and go to the Human Being Project, like their page, and just have a look and see what else it is that they've got going on, and share it with your friends. Share this broadcast. You just never know who either needs the service or can help. Might be able to volunteer their time to help out as well. So that's it for today. So until next week, same time, same place next week, 9:30 Australian Central Daylight Savings Time on Thursday next week. Until next week, bye for now.